Commander Ryan Thorne stood in front of the giant metal doors that led to the galactic arena. His heart beat steady and calm. He had faced many battles in his life, but this one was different. It was not just for his life, it was for Earth, for humanity. He had been chosen by the United Earth Command to represent his people in a ceremonial duel, hosted by the Galactic Union. The Union was made up of hundreds of alien civilizations. Earth was one of the newest members. Many still believed humans were too weak or too young to stand among them. This duel was meant to prove Earth's strength. Ryan had trained for months. He had studied alien fighting styles. He had sharpened every skill he had. But nothing prepared him for the name of his opponent. The crowd outside was massive. Different species from every corner of the galaxy filled the seats. Some had wings, some had scales, others floated with no legs. But all of them were excited. They had come to watch a human fight the galaxy's strongest warrior. Entered the arena wearing a black combat suit. His helmet was off. He wanted them to see his face. He wanted them to know that humans did not hide. As he stepped onto the shining platform, bright lights followed him. Cheers echoed through the open skies. Some cheered for him. Most waited to see him lost within the opposite doors opened. Silence swept across the arena. Ash walked in with grace and strength. Kelvara was tall, her figure shaped by years of battle and command. Her armor was dark blue with silver edges. Her long hair was braided with crystal threads that shimmered. Under the arena lights, her eyes were sharp like blades. She was not just a soldier. She was a legend. She had never lost a single duel. Not in 20 years Ryan had read stories about her. She had defeated whole war bands alone. She had broken rebel fleets with only a single command. People feared her. Others worshipped her, and now Ryan had to fight her. They stood face to face in the center of the arena. A voice echoed across the sky from a floating announcer. Drone combatants ready. Duel begins in 3, 2, 1. The moment the countdown ended, Kelvara moved. She was fast. Faster than anything Ryan had ever seen. She rushed toward him. With a blade glowing from her wrist, Ryan rolled to the side just in time as the blade slashed past his shoulder. Tried to counterattack. He launched a quick jab toward her side, but she blocked it with ease. Her arm caught his, and she threw him across the platform. He hit the ground and rolled. Trying to stay on his feet, the crowd roared. Ryan stood back up, breathing hard. He smiled. Slightly. She was strong, but strength was not everything. Humans had something others underestimated. Adaptability. Ran at her, then feinted left and jumped right. She followed the feint for just a moment. That was all he needed. He landed a punch on her side. It didn't hurt her much, but it made. Her pal stepped back and tilted her head, looking at him with curiosity. No one has touched me in years during a duel, she said calmly. Lyrian didn't answer. He just lifted his fist again. She attacked again. This time her moves were even sharper. He blocked one strike, dodged another, and then had to duck under a spinning kick that would have knocked his head off. She was toying with him now, testing him, not just trying to win. Ryan realized something strange. She was enjoying the fight. Their battle continued for minutes that felt like hours. Sparks flew from the floor as their weapons clashed. Ryan used every trick he knew. Dirty angles, sudden footwork, unpredictable rhythms. He got knocked down more than once, but stood back up each time. The crowd was no longer silent. Now they were watching closely. Some even began to cheer for him. A human standing toe-to-toe with Kelvara was something no one had expected. Finally, Kelvara struck with a wide sweep that knocked the weapon from Ryan's hand. He stumbled back. Unarmed, she pointed her glowing blade at his chest. He braced for the end, but she didn't move. Instead, she deactivated the blade. Ryan blinked. What are you doing? He sketched looked at him with a strange expression. Not anger, not pity. Something softer. You have already proven yourself, she said. Then she stepped forward and extended her hand toward him. The crowd gasped. Ryan stared at her hand, unsure. Was this a trick? Was it surrender? No, it wasn't defeat in her eyes. It was something else. She said, loud enough for all to hear. You are not like the others. You fight with heart, with instinct. I did not come here to destroy a warrior like that. I came to find one. The announcer drone hovered uncertainly, unsure how to declare the results, and slowly took her hand. She pulled him up with strength and ease. The moment their hands met, the arena exploded in noise, cheers, confusion, shock. Even some Awakale turned to the crowd and lifted their joined hands. I do not stand alone anymore, she declared. From this day, we stand together. Ryan's mind was spinning. What just happened? Was this some political message, a symbol, or something deeper? Before he could ask, she leaned close and whispered, "Come with me. There's more you need to see, and more I need to say," as the crowd continued to roar and question what they had just witnessed. Kael'var led Ryan out of the arena through the command path. Fight was over, but something much bigger had just begun. The shuttle flew smoothly above the clouds of Krylos 7 as Ryan Thorne sat in silence, across from General Kael'var. She had said almost nothing since they left the arena. Her eyes were closed, her arms were crossed, but even while resting, her presence was powerful. Ryan could feel it in the air. Glanced at her again. This was the woman who could have killed him in front of the entire galaxy. She didn't. Instead, she reached for his hand and declared they were together. What did that even mean? Allies? Partners? Something more? The shuttle landed inside a massive warship that hovered above the arena city. It was Kael'var's personal command ship, shaped like a silver wing with hundreds of fighters docked along its body. As they stepped out, Zoran guards stood in a line and bowed their heads. "Take him to the honor hall," she ordered. "And no one is to touch him. He is under my protection now." Ryan followed the guards through shining halls lit by deep blue lights. Alien technology pulsed in the walls. The air smelled like metal and ozone. When they reached the honor hall, he was given food, water, and a clean uniform made of soft black fabric. He sat alone for a while, thinking. Later, Kael'var entered. Her armor was removed. She now wore a long battle robe marked with her empire's symbols. Ryan stood up quickly. She motioned for him to sit. Then she sat across from him. "You surprised me?" she said at last. "No human has ever stood against me like that. You think differently. You fight with purpose, not just strength." Ryan nodded. "I didn't come to win. I came to represent Earth. We're not the strongest, but we don't give up. That is why I chose you," she replied. "But this is not just about the duel. There is something larger at play, and I need someone like you beside me." Ryan leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Kael'var's voice dropped lower. "My empire is beginning to break. There are whispers of rebellion inside the council. My generals want to return to conquest. They speak of wiping out weaker races, including yours." Ryan's face tightened. "I thought the Galactic Union stood for peace." "It does. But peace is only a word if the strong choose war. I kept them in line for years. Now they grow bold. They see me as too careful, too soft. Because I hesitate before starting war." She stood and walked to a window. Stars shone beyond the ship. "But I have a plan, a new path. I believe we need more than soldiers. We need those who can think with heart, like humans, like you." Ryan stepped beside her. "You want me to be part of this plan?" She nodded. "Not as a servant, not as a tool, as an equal. Fight beside me. Help me change the future before it burns." Ryan looked out at the stars. He had never expected this. He came for a duel. Now he was standing beside the galaxy's strongest leader, being asked to shape the future. "I'll help," he said at last, "but not for glory, only for peace." She turned to him and nodded once. "Then we begin now." The next few days were filled with training and learning. Kael'var showed him the layout of her ships, her command methods, and her battle strategies. In return, Ryan shared Earth's thinking, how humans use misdirection, how they adapted during war, how they solved problems with limited tools. They sparred every morning. At first, it was intense and serious. Slowly, the rhythm changed. Their movements became more fluid, more natural. There were moments when they smiled during a match, moments when silence said more than words. An evening, after training, Kael'var sat beside Ryan on a viewing deck. They watched stars pass as the ship glided through hyperspace. "I once thought strength was everything," she said, "but now I see it is not strength alone. It is who we choose to stand with." That makes us powerful. Ryan listened carefully. You've been alone for a long time, haven't you? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, yes, command is lonely. Victory is lonelier. Ryan looked at her. Well, you're not alone anymore. She turned to face him. There was something different in her eyes, something softer. Before she could speak, an alarm rang through the ship. Red lights flashed. A voice called out, emergency, sabotage detected in engine core 3. All crew report. Kelvar stood fast. Come with me. They rushed through the halls toward the engine sector. Smoke filled part of the hallway. Security bots were already fighting fire. Kelvar gave sharp orders. Ryan joined the crew in checking control panels. Some of the guards ran up with a damaged device. Sabotage confirmed. It was planted by one of our own. A time core overload. If we didn't catch it in time, the ship would have been lost. Kelvar clenched her jaw. This was not a message. This was a threat. She turned to Ryan. They don't just oppose me. They want me gone. And they are willing to kill you, to break me. Ryan met her gaze. Then we faced them together. You're not alone in this fight now. For a long moment, she looked at him without speaking. Then she reached out and placed her hand over his. It was not the grip of command, not the touch of wear. It was something else. Warning lights glowed through the blue glass of the honor hall as Ryan Thorne opened his eyes. The scent of metal and distant engine hums filled the air. All night the crew had repaired the damage from the sabotage, and now the ship felt steady again, yet the tension was thicker than armor plating. Ryan rose, washed quickly, and dressed in the soft black uniform the Zorn attendants had provided. Every movement reminded him that his life had changed in a single duel. A soft chime sounded. The door slid open, and a young Zorn officer stepped inside. His posture was stiff with respect. Commander Thorne, the general requests your presence. In the strategic dome, the officer said. Ryan thanked him and followed through tall corridors lit by silver lines that pulsed like veins. He passed squads of guards who eyed him with new curiosity. Word of Kelvar as public choice had traveled faster than any hyperspace jump. Some saluted him. Others only stared. The strategic dome sat at the topmost deck, a vast chamber where walls were living star maps. Kelvar stood at the center, tall and calm. Her robe replaced by fitted command armor. Purple command banners hung above, and transparent data panels floated around her like quiet birds. When Ryan entered, she turned and nodded once. You slept well. Well enough, he answered. Any progress on the saboteur? She waved a hand and a hologram formed. It showed the face of a stern male Zorn with scarred cheeks, General Sarzek. One of my council supporters, or so I believed. Surveillance shows he entered the engine sector minutes before the blast. He has vanished from all security feeds. Since, her voice stayed level, but the glow in her eyes hinted at controlled anger. Ryan studied the image. What is his motive? Power, she replied. He thinks my restraint makes the Empire weak. He wants open conquest. Removing me would let him seize the high seat. A panel flashed red. Kelvar closed her fist. The image vanished. She looked at Ryan. The council is already questioning my right to rule. They call you a human distraction. Sarzek will use that doubt to rally fleets. We cannot sit and wait. Ryan's mind raced. What do you need from me? Come with me to the Orion Rift, she said. A station that holds sealed records on council fleet movements, if Sarzek plans a coup. Proof will be stored in that archive. We retrieve it and expose him before he strikes. Ryan nodded. Let's move. Minutes later, they stepped onto a sleek scout cruiser. Only a handful of loyal officers joined them. The vessel detached from the flagship, curved away from Krylos 7, and dove into the kaleidoscope of hyperspace, colors folded around the hull like liquid mirrors. Ryan watched the swirl, feeling the weight of the task ahead. He sensed Kelvar studying him. You question your choice, she said quietly. I question everything, he answered with a short laugh. A week ago I was a simple envoy. Now I am chasing traitors across the stars with the galaxy's strongest leader. Strong does not mean certain, she replied. Your doubt keeps you alert. Use it. They spent long hours in the cruiser's training bay. Metal figures popped from the floor. Firing stun beams, Ryan rolled, ducked, and answered with precise shots from a light pulse rifle. Kael'var advanced beside him, twin energy blades flashing in steady arcs. Their styles were different, yet they covered each other with growing rhythm. At one point, the drones cornered Ryan. Kael'var vaulted between them, deflecting twin beams. Then Ryan spun low and tagged both drones. Targets fell in sparks. Breath came hard, but bright smiles curved on both faces. After cooldown, they sat on a bench sipping clear nutrient water. Kael'var turned her hand upward, showing the small burn on her palm. Ryan reached out, brushing the skin with his thumb. As he applied a healing patch, the gesture was simple, yet the silence carried warmth stronger than words. "You hold my hand as if it matters," she said. "It matters to me," Ryan replied. She closed her fingers around his for one calm heartbeat, then stood. "Time to focus. The rift is near." The Orion Rift appeared in the forward view screen like a scar of violet clouds split by lightning. At its edge floated Research Beacon 9, once a science hub, now an archive station. Long docking arms extended, like frozen wings. No welcome beacons flashed. The cruiser slid under the silent arms and locked to an airlock. Ryan and Kael'var led the boarding party through dim halls lined with dormant consoles. Dust floated in low gravity. Emergency lights flickered amber. Signs of forced entry marred a door ahead. Its panels hung open. "Someone arrived before us," Ryan whispered. They advanced. In the central data vault stood a tall figure in battle. Armor Admiral Urax, Kael'var's former mentor. His helmet opened, revealing gold eyes that once guided her rise to power. "Kael'var," he said, voice flat. "Turn back. The Empire demands strong hands again. Sarzek is that strength." She lifted her chin. "Sarzek wants chaos, not strength. Step aside," Urax signaled. Armed troops emerged from shadowed alcoves, pulse carbines primed. Ryan and Kael'var faced a circle of raised barrels. Kael'var spoke softly. "Ryan, ready?" He nodded. Without warning, she launched upward, grabbing an overhead pipe and kicking two rifles aside. Ryan dropped low, sweeping a guard's legs and claiming the fallen weapon. Beams flared across the vault. Data crystals cracked. Sparks rained. Ryan kept moving, firing short bursts that stunned attackers. Kael'var's blades shimmered, striking only armored joints to disable, never to kill. Admirable control, Ryan thought, even while dodging a stun blast. Urax drew a heavy shock rod and rushed. Ryan blocked the first swing, but the second clipped his shoulder, numbing his arm. He gritted teeth, pivoted, and used momentum to spin. Urax into Kael'var's waiting strike. She struck the rod, sending it skittering. The Admiral stumbled. Kael'var pressed a blade tip to his chest. "Where's Sarzek?" "He moves the Second Fleet to the frontier," Urax hissed. "When he fires on the border colonies, the Council will beg him to take your throne." Kael'var's jaw tightened. She signaled to guards to restrain the Admiral. Then she took a glowing data core from the central pillar. "This holds his full plan," she said to Ryan. "We have our proof." Alarm klaxons blared. More enemy troops filled side corridors. Ryan tossed a flash pulse. White ion light burst, blinding pursuers. He grabbed Kael'var's wrist, exit left. They sprinted through winding service tubes, sliding under half-closed blast doors. Shots rang behind. At a small hangar they found a stealth shuttle. Ryan hacked the controls while Kael'var sealed the hatch. Engines flared. The shuttle punched out of the beacon as explosions rippled across its hull. Behind them, the research station tore apart. Blown by self-destruct charges Urax's men had triggered. Inside the cramped cabin, lights dimmed. Kael'var slumped in her seat, hand pressed to her side. A thin line of blood darkened her armor. "Joint," Ryan knelt, pulling a medkit. "You saved me again," she said in a faint voice. "Partners remember," Ryan replied while sealing the wound with a coagulant spray. She breathed steady, watching him work. When the bandage set, she reached for his hand. Her fingers were strong even in pain. He held them without hesitation. "Thank you," she whispered. He squeezed gently. "Rest. I will fly." She closed her eyes, trusting him with her ship and her life. Ryan set course for the Zoran core worlds where the Council convened. Heart steady with new purpose. Hours later Kael'var awoke, pain eased. Ryan showed her the decrypted data on the cockpit screen. Lines of fleet schedules, weapons stockpiles, and orders of attack scrolled past. Sarzek plans to strike the frontier in 3 days, Ryan said. Billions could die. Kael'Vara's gaze hardened. Then we reached the council first. With this evidence, we can rally loyal fleets. We will stop him. She clasped his shoulder. You and I, together. Ryan met her eyes. Together. Their shuttle cut through the stars, small yet unbreakable, carrying to warriors bound by choice. Flying toward a storm they vowed to calm before it swallowed the galaxy. Stars moved slowly outside the shuttle's window as Ryan Thorne guided the ship through deep space. Beside him, General Kael'Vara sat quietly, her armor still marked from the fight at the Orion Rift. Her wound was healing, but her mind stayed alert. The silence between them was not empty. It was full of thoughts, plans, and something new trust. The stolen data core from Research Beacon 9 now rested inside a small security box. Behind Ryan's seat, it was their only proof of the traitor's plan. The core held Sarzek's orders to attack peaceful colonies. If they reached the Zorn High Council in time, they could stop a war. But the risk was growing. Ryan checked the sensors. We'll reach Zorn Prime in less than 12 hours, he said. Kael'Vara nodded. Once we enter the capital's orbit, they will scan our ship. The moment they learn I carry this data, they will try to silence me. Ryan looked at her. Even the council. Some of them, she said. Not all. But enough to fear what? I represent change. She stood and walked to the rear of the shuttle. Ryan followed her. Inside a small storage bay, Kael'Vara opened a hidden locker. Inside was a sealed box covered in dust and old royal markings. She opened it with her palm. This was my father's, she said. He ruled before me. He believed peace must come through understanding, not fear. When he tried to reduce the size of our war fleets, he was poisoned. His death was called an accident. I knew the truth, but I was too young to challenge the council. Ryan stared at the items inside. Metals, old data crystals, a worn-out scroll. With his father's own code of honor written in the Zorn language. You kept this all these years? Ryan asked. She nodded. It reminds me of who I once was, and who I still want to be. She sat down on a crate and looked at Ryan. Her voice softened. You saw me in the arena. I was power, speed, control. But that is not all I am. I carry a weight most cannot see. I must act strong even when I feel tired. I must speak with force even when I want to speak with kindness. That is what leadership demands. But sometimes I wish I could set it all down. Ryan sat beside her. You're not alone now. You don't have to carry it all by yourself. She looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she reached for his hand and held it again. This time not in front of cameras or soldiers, but in quiet truth. I never thought I would say this, she whispered. But I trust you, more than anyone. Ryan felt his chest tighten slightly, not in pain, but in something deeper. We'll face whatever comes, together, suddenly. The shuttle's lights dimmed, and an alarm buzzed. Ryan stood quickly and rushed to the cockpit. Kael'Vara followed. A message flashed across the screen. Long-range interceptor approaching. Zorn signal detected. Weapons locked. Kael'Vara's face darkened. That's one of Sarzek's patrol ships. He found. U.S. Ryan moved fast, turning the ship and pulling it into a dive. Lasers lit up the stars behind them. The shuttle rocked with each near miss. Kael'Vara took the weapon's controls. I'll give you cover. Get us to the dark side of the nearest moon. The small ship twisted through the void behind them. The interceptor followed closely. Ryan used every flying trick he knew, diving through asteroid dust and cutting close to space debris. The chase was tight. Kael'Vara fired twin pulse blasts. One hit the enemy's wing, slowing it down. Ryan shouted, "Hold on," and sent the shuttle into a narrow gap between two orbiting rocks. Sparks flew. The enemy ship tried to follow, but clipped a rock and spun out of control, crashing into a frozen field of debris. Ryan exhaled hard and slowed the shuttle. The alarms faded. Kael'Vara checked the sensors. No other ships in the area. We're clear for now. Ryan turned to her. That wasn't just random. They were waiting for us. Yes, she said. Sarzik is watching every route. If he knew we took the data, he knows we're coming to the council. Ryan nodded. Then we change our path. They rerouted the shuttle through a mining corridor known only to smugglers and old traders. Kael'Var had used it once during her early years in command. It led through a quiet system called Harrion Drift. The trip would take longer, but the risk was lower. During the journey, Kael'Var opened more of her past to Ryan. She spoke of her early battles, of earning respect in a military world that never expected a woman to rise so high. She had fought both enemies and her own people to prove herself. But the more she won, the more alone she felt. Ryan listened without interrupting. He saw her not as a symbol, not as a warrior, but as a person who had given everything to protect her people. She had chosen strength over comfort, silence over tears. I used to think love was weakness, she said. But now I see love is courage. Ryan smiled. That's what humans believe too. When they finally reached the edge of Zorn space, the grand rings of Zorn Prime shimmered in the distance. The capital planet was surrounded by defense satellites and traffic beacons. But Kael'Var's command code still worked. The shuttle was allowed through. Before landing, she handed Ryan a dark cloak. If we walk into the council chamber with this data, we will not be welcomed. Some will fight us with words, others may try something worse. Ryan pulled the cloak over his shoulders. Let them try. They stepped out of the shuttle into the grand courtyard of the council dome. Massive pillars rose around them, carved with the names of every ruler in Zorn history. Guards flanked the gates, unsure whether to bow or raise their weapons. Kael'Var raised her voice. I demand entrance. Under ancient law, I bring evidence of betrayal that threatens our people. A high voice responded from the inner halls. Enter, Kael'Var. But know this truth is not always welcomed. She looked at Ryan one last time before stepping forward. He walked beside her. Together, they passed through the gates of Power. What lay beyond was uncertain. But one thing was clear. They were no longer just warrior and fighter. They were something more. The doors of the Zorn High Council opened slowly, with a deep sound that echoed across the chamber. Ryan Thorne and General Kael'Var stepped inside side by side. The hall was wide and tall, shaped like a circle, with silver and black patterns. Across the walls, dozens of council members sat on high platforms, each one dressed in the official robes of their rank. Lights from the ceiling glowed like soft stars above them. Some of the council members looked curious, others looked angry. One or two simply turned their heads away. Ryan could feel the tension as clearly as if it were heat. Kael'Var stood in the center of the chamber and raised her voice. I come before you with proof of betrayal within our empire. I speak not as a general, but as a protector of peace. I present a data core stolen from Research Beacon 9. It holds the orders of General Sarzik, showing his plan to attack innocent colonies and overthrow the council. Gasps spread through the room. A few counselors stood. One shouted, "This is a lie. Sarzik is loyal." Another said, "Let her speak. If the proof is real, we must act." Kael'Var looked at Ryan. He stepped forward, opened the security box, and placed the data core on the platform. A blue beam of light rose from it, showing maps, dates, orders, and messages. Everyone could see the fleet movements and command. Orders signed by Sarzik himself. Silence filled the chamber. Then a voice echoed from the side. She forged it. All heads turned as General Sarzik entered. His black and gold armor gleamed, and behind him walked 6 armed guards. He wore a calm smile, but his eyes were sharp. "You arrive with a human at your side and accuse me of treason," Sarzik said. "Your fear makes you weak, Kael'Var. You lost your edge. You bring this outsider to our sacred halls to cover your failure." Kael'Var stepped forward. "The evidence speaks for itself. You moved ships without council approval. You prepared to strike at the colonies. You tried to silence me by sending an interceptor. You failed." Sarzik's smile faded. "I did what must be done to protect our future. You want peace with weak species. I want strength, real power. This human stands beside you now. But where was he when our ancestors built this empire?" Ryan took a step forward. I don't come here to rule. I came because she believes in peace, and she's not alone." Some council members murmured in agreement. Others still looked unsure. Sarzik raised his hand. "Enough," he said. "If the council will not remove you, Kael'vara, I will do it myself." Before anyone could stop him, Sarzik gave a silent signal. His guards raised their weapons and fired. The beam shot straight toward Kael'vara, but Ryan leapt in front of her and activated a personal shield. The blast hit the shield and pushed him back, but he stayed on his feet. Kael'vara drew her energy blade in one swift motion. "You betray not just me, but every law of this chamber." More guards rushed in from side doors. They were loyal to Sarzik. Chaos broke out as beams flew across the chamber. Council members ducked for cover. Some guards began fighting against each other. Loyal ones protected the council while traitors followed Sarzek's orders. Ryan pulled out a pulse pistol and took cover behind a pillar. He aimed carefully and fired at the attackers. Kael'vara moved like a storm, blocking blasts with her blade and disabling enemies with fast strikes. She never used deadly force. She wanted justice, not revenge. In the middle of the chamber, Sarzik and Kael'vara faced each other. The crowd cleared around them. Ryan watched from behind a broken platform, heart racing. This was the moment everything would change. Sarzik stepped forward. "You were once a warrior. Now look at you. Soft, weak." Kael'vara answered. "Strength is not cruelty. It is knowing when to protect. And I will protect them from you." They clashed. Sarzek's heavy blade met Kael'vara as twin blades. Sparks flew with every strike. He swung with power. She moved with speed. Every step was a test of skill, and Ryan wanted to help, but he knew this was her fight. He stayed alert, guarding the council and shooting any enemies that came close. The battle between Kael'vara and Sarzik moved toward the center of the chamber. Sarzik struck with a sharp twist, cutting part of her armor. She stepped back, bleeding slightly, but her eyes stayed locked on him. She raised her blade one last time and blocked his final swing. Then she moved behind him in a smooth spin and placed the blade at his throat. "It's over," she said. Sarzik froze. His guards surrendered. The remaining loyal council members stood and clapped slowly. The fight was done. Kael'vara looked at Ryan. He ran to her side and helped her stay steady. "You're hurt," he said. "Just a scratch," she replied. The head counselor stepped forward. "Kael'vara, you risked your life to protect us. This council declares you the rightful leader of the Zorn Empire." Cheers rose across the hall. Even those who doubted her now stood in respect. Kael'vara took a deep breath. "We will not return to war. We will build something better." Later, in her private chamber, Kael'vara sat with Ryan in silence. She had changed out of her armor. Her wound had been treated. The stars outside the window shined brighter than usual. "You could have left," she said. "You didn't have to stand with me." "I did," Ryan replied, "because I believe in you." She looked at him with quiet strength. "And I believe in us." He reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. The galaxy outside was still dangerous. There were more enemies, more battles ahead. But in that moment, there was peace. And that peace began with two hands held together. The stars outside Kael'vara as command ship moved slowly as the vessel traveled through deep space. It had been 3 days since the battle in the Zorn High Council chamber. Sarzik was now in custody, and the council had announced Kael'vara as the new supreme commander of the Zorn Empire. Inside the ship, things were not calm. Orders were being sent, fleets were being realigned, loyal officers were being promoted. Those who served under Sarzik were being questioned. Trust had been broken in many places, and Kael'vara was working hard to rebuild it. Ryan walked beside her through the main quarter of the command ship. Soldiers stood at attention when she passed. Some gave a respectful nod to Ryan as well. He still felt out of place in this new world, but no one looked at him like an outsider anymore. Kael'vara stopped in front of a strategy room and opened the door with her command key. "We have work to do," she said. Inside, holographic maps floated in the air. They showed the galaxy with different sectors marked in blue, red, and yellow. Red zones were under threat. Blue were loyal. Yellow zones were undecided. Ryan studied. The map. So many sectors are still unsure who to follow. Kael'var nodded. They do not know who to trust. Some think I only won through force. Others believe Sarzek's lies still. Ryan walked closer to one of the floating maps. What's this area here? That is the Vexari border. She said. They were close allies once, but now they remain silent. They have not answered any calls. Ryan frowned. Could they be planning something? Kael'var crossed her arms. They are quiet because they wait. They watch who rises before they choose a side. If we prove we are strong and fair, they will return. Ryan turned to face her. Then we prove it. Not with more battles, but with action. Kael'var looked at him for a moment. You are not a general, Ryan, but your thinking is sharp. He smiled slightly. You don't have to be a general to see what's right. A small alarm beeped. On the side wall, a voice came through the speaker. Commander Kael'var, we received a signal from the neutral planet Eller Prime. A mining colony is under attack by raiders. They are asking for help. Kael'var's face grew serious. Prepare a team. We move at once. Within the hour, her command ship dropped out of light speed near the planet Eller Prime. The planet was dark and covered in smoke. Small fires could be seen from orbit. Raider ships flew above the colony, firing at buildings and cargo stations. Kael'var and Ryan boarded a dropship along with a team of elite soldiers. As the ship flew down toward the surface, Ryan could feel the heat from the planet through the metal floor. The dropship landed in the middle of the colony square. People were running, hiding, crying. The raiders were well armed but scattered. They did not expect resistance. Kael'var stepped out first. Her armor shone under the dusty sky. Her soldiers moved in perfect order behind her. Ryan stayed close, holding a pulse rifle just in case. The battle began fast. Kael'var moved through the colony like lightning. She ordered her soldiers to protect civilians first. She used her blade to disarm raiders without killing them. Her goal was to stop the violence, not to spread it. Ryan helped guide survivors to safety. He found a group of children hiding in a supply room and led them to a shelter. Behind the storage building, the children stared at him with wide eyes, surprised that a human had come to help them. After 30 minutes, the raiders surrendered. Some tried to run, but Kael'var's team captured them all. Not a single civilian was lost. The colony leader, a short woman with gray skin and tired eyes, came forward. Thank you, she said. No one has helped us for many cycles. We thought we were forgotten. Kael'var replied with calm strength. You are part of this galaxy. We do not forget those who need help. Ryan stood beside her, proud but quiet. He had seen her in battle before, but today was different. Today she was not just a warrior. She was a protector. The people of Eller Prime gathered in the colony square. They brought food, water, and even music. Soldiers and civilians shared stories. Children climbed on small rocks and played games. The colony was still damaged, but there was a new energy now, a hope that had been missing for years. As the sun set over the hills, Kael'var sat beside Ryan on a metal bench. The stars began to show in the sky. This is what I want to build, she said softly. Not just victory, a future where no one feels alone. Ryan looked at her and nodded. You're doing it already. She turned to him. When we first met, I saw you as a challenge, a strong fighter, a bold voice. Now, I see more. I see someone who brings balance, someone I trust. Ryan smiled. And I see someone who never stops fighting for others, someone I want to stand beside. For a moment, they sat in silence, watching the stars. A cool wind passed through the colony square. People continued to talk and laugh nearby. Then Kael'var reached out and took Ryan's hand again. This time, she didn't let go. In that simple gesture, a new promise was made, not just to each other, but to everyone who looked up at the sky and hoped for peace. A new dawn broke over the colony of Eller Prime. The rising light turned the dusty skies into soft gold. Smoke had cleared, fires were gone. The colony stood quiet but alive. People worked together to clean the streets and repair what had been destroyed. In the center of the square, Kael'var stood with Ryan by her side. Her armor was scratched, and her cloak was stained, but she looked calm. She watched the children running and the workers lifting metal panels with fresh energy. This was more than victory. This was healing. Ryan stretched his arms and looked around. "We did good here." Kilvar gave a small nod. "Yes, but this is only the beginning." Back aboard her command ship, a message was waiting. The Vexari. High Council had sent a signal. They had watched the events on Eller Prime and wanted to speak. Kilvar ordered the ship to move toward Vexari Space Dot as they traveled through hyperspace. Kilvara and Ryan met with her top officers. She sat at the head of the long strategy table. Ryan sat beside her, now a regular presence during important discussions. Commander Tovin, one of her most trusted advisors, spoke first. "Vexari Council wishes to meet in neutral orbit. They say they are unsure of your rule but open to talks." Kilvar looked at the star map. "They fear a new empire, rising by force. We must show them we rise by unity." Ryan leaned forward. "Then let's bring someone from Eller Prime with us. Let them speak." A voice from the people might mean more than a general's words. The room fell silent for a moment. Then Kilvar smiled slightly. "That is wise. Make the arrangements." 2 days later, their ship floated in high orbit over the Vexari moon station. The council ship arrived with great care. Its silver hull was smooth like glass. A bridge was created between the ships, and the meeting room was prepared. Kilvara entered first, wearing a simple black robe with her Zorn symbol on the chest. Ryan followed her. With them walked the colony leader from Eller Prime. She wore clean mining clothes and held no weapon, just a datapad filled with repair lists and messages from her people. Inside the Vexari meeting room, 6 council members waited. They had long faces and dark eyes. Their robes were elegant, but their expressions were serious. One of them stood. "Kilvara, you arrived not as a conqueror, but with a human and a miner. Why?" Kilvara stepped forward. "Because this is not a battle. It is truth. The galaxy is broken, not by enemies, but by fear. I do not seek to rule. I seek to protect." The colony leader stepped up. Her voice was steady. "I saw it myself. We were attacked, left alone. Then Kilvar came. She risked her life for strangers. Not for power, for peace." The Vexari elders listened. They looked at each other. One spoke again. "And this human, what is he to your future?" Kilvar looked at Ryan. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. She answered for them both. "He is not just a human. He is a reminder that strength can come from many places, that even those who come from other stars can teach us courage. He fights beside me not with fear, but with heart." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then one Vexari elder stepped forward and offered a small golden emblem. "You will have our trust, not by force, but by your choice to protect all people, not just your own." Kilvar accepted the emblem. A silent agreement had been made. The Vexari would support her efforts to rebuild the galaxy with peace and strength balanced. As their ship returned to Zorn space, news of the Alliance spread. Other neutral systems began reaching out. Messages of support came from small planets and trade stations. People began to believe in something again. In the command center, Kilvar stood in front of a large star map. She placed the Vexari emblem beside her own. Ryan stepped up beside her. "You've done something impossible." She turned to him. Not alone. He looked at her hand resting beside the star panel. Quietly, he placed his hand over hers. A soft pause filled the room. Kilvar smiled. "You once called me the most powerful woman in the galaxy." Ryan smiled back. "I still believe it. But now I know why." They stood like that for a moment. The map glowing before them, the future ahead uncertain, but full of promise. Outside the ship, in the wide stretch of stars, signals flowed between systems. Patrol ships moved not in fear, but in purpose. Colonies began sharing food and energy. Raids dropped. Trade increased. Back on Eller Prime, a statue was being built, not of a warrior, but of 2 figures standing together. One tall and strong, with Zorn armor. One human, holding nothing but a message of hope. The base of the statue read, "Together, We protect what we love. The people there didn't speak of war anymore. They spoke of unity, of the day when a warrior and a stranger came down from the sky and changed everything. And far away, in a hidden star system, a shadow watched the stars. Not everyone was happy with peace. Not all threats had vanished. But for now, the galaxy was healing. Kael'var knew challenges would return. But now she was not alone. She had Ryan. She had allies. She had a reason beyond power. The galaxy had feared her strength. Now it followed her leadership in Ryan. Once just a lost human in the wrong place at the wrong time, had become something more. A bridge between worlds, a reminder that heart and courage matter even more than weapons. Together, they faced a galaxy that was ready to rise. Together, they held the future in their hands.